Hey guys, I did promise to give a review of the new Malignancy record, Discontinued, and I want to not go back on that promise, but I have been struggling a little bit, to be honest, because I don't have a whole lot to say about it, and it's not because I don't like it. I do like it, and it's not because it's a bad record, because it's not, um, but it's because it's very limited. And I had a discussion about the limitations of certain death metal records a while ago, back when I was more active on certain message boards. And someone at the time had said that Deeds of Flesh's Path of Awakening record was good, but very limited. And at the time, I was very argumentative because I do love that record. Um, and I didn't want to hear that kind of criticism of it, especially if I were to compare it to records that the person would have said were limitless. And after thinking about what he had to say, I must say I actually do agree about that criticism of Path of Awakening. I do love it, and if I were to reach for a Deeds of Flesh record, it would be that one or Inbreeding, both of which I think are great records. But now that I am removed from being more of a fanboy of the band, as they kind of cratered their legacy, I will say that it is true. They are limited records in terms of the fact that within the first couple of minutes, you do kind of get the entire palette of what the band has to offer. There is a bit of a, I do have a criticism all the time of bands that do not have their own identity. And that is the major hurdle for pretty much any modern artist, is to show me who you are. Deeds of Flesh shows you who they are. Malignancy shows you who they are. The problem is who they are is limited. And as with Deeds of Flesh, Malignancy shows their hand right away, and they always have. A lot of the things that I bring to the forefront as criticism for other bands do not apply to Malignancy, in which case they should be put into the good band category. They are a band that develops an entity behind itself. Uh, since the beginning, the band has been kind of immersed in body horror and exposing the limitations of the human condition. It's like a sneering admonishment of the human condition while showing that through hilarious gore imagery. And for being a fan of horror, that would be right up my alley normally. But if you were to just show me a clip show of all the best kills in any kind of horror series, I would probably get a bit tired of it because there's no attachment to the characters, there's no build up to the kills, and a Malignancy record is nonstop kill scenes. It is fun, it is entertaining, and it's clever musically. It's a very the word complex doesn't mean anything. The word technical doesn't mean anything anymore. But it's a very busy record with a lot of adornments that will keep your attention. But themes are very rarely elaborated upon. That's not the goal of the band, and it kind of comes in one ear and out the other. But you get to experience things that Malignancy does throughout it, things that they have always done. Uh, the record is essentially a kind of a goofy take on the percussive death metal style of, say, Suffocation, but with with a few areas where they're going to show you who they are based on the brief adornments. Like Malignancy is about when does the artificial harmonic come in, and how do you make it sound goofy and divert your attention from the percussive blasting death metal. That's what Malignancy is. It's a low tuned death metal, like chopped up riff style that is occasionally broken up with artificial harmonics that are often very goofy. And it's essentially like the jump scare style of modern horror, where it's like, where does the jump scare come in? And that's like, where does the artificial harmonic come in? That's Malignancy. I wish there was more to say, because I do think the record is fun, and they have, as I've said, developed an image. They've developed uh, kind of an idea of what you're going to get, and that's to be commended. Uh, I do know what I'm going to get, and there hasn't been a new Malignancy full length record in a really long time. I did like the last record, Eugenics, and I cannot believe that it's been 12 years since then, because that feels like a newer record to me. Then again, anything past like 2005 is like a new record to me. But the things that the old Malignancy records had that this one doesn't is the production. And I hate to criticize a band based on production, because I do like the idea that you may have heard an old cliche people say, a good song is a good song if you take all the distortion out, you play it on an acoustic guitar, and it's still good. And I like to abide by that. The production and stuff should be an after effect, but it really helps this band to have a murkier production. This record is crystal clear. Everything is audible, and the low end that you come to expect, not in terms of the tones that the band is using instrumentally, but the actual like frequency range. The low end frequency range is completely missing here, and it sucks that that makes such a big difference on a record. Uh, but the whole vibe, the whole atmosphere of it is definitely way more like clinical, and it feels more like you're listening to MIDI music when it's this cut and dry as to what you're getting. The old Malignancy records had a bit of menace to them because of that frequency range being present, and it is not present here. So the silliness that is Malignancy, which has always been there, is now more pitched to the forefront because it's unburied. And it's probably a good thing that everything that they're doing is front and center, because the band is completely exposed. You get to know exactly who they are, but the weaknesses come with that change. And I'm sure it was their decision to have a very dry, very trebly, mid-rangey record, but it doesn't really work for this band. And it's the same like going back to like horror movies. If you were to take an old horror movie and give it like 2024 production value, where there's no longer any kind of things to lurk in shadows because there are no shadows, the movie will not work as well. And it sucks that that is a criticism, that it's the production that hurts it, but it does. But I did listen to the whole record. Sorry, my cat is bumping into the camera here. Um, and it's fine. It's fun. But if you're familiar with Malignancy, then it's going to be a tiresome affair, because coming back after 12 years with a record that's essentially just like your greatest hits of your greatest tropes, it's like, why would you resurrect the name? We could put on any Malignancy record and have a better experience, because it sounds like a menacing death metal situation, and this just sounds like it's all the stuff that they're known to do, but spat back at you in like an AI kind of way, because it's just the raw data now. It's the raw data without being filtered through a sense of atmosphere. And the limitations, as I've mentioned before, of the band are now very obvious, because there is no mystery to what they're doing. This is a band where it helps that there's mystery to what they're doing, because some of the themes do come at you really hard and really fast, and it would take some rewinding to like kind of figure out what they're doing. But now that everything is crystal clear, you hear it crystal clear on the first go through, and it's just naked and out there. And the utility of each part is drastically limited when all of the phrasing in every song just hits on those notes of, let's just have percussive, power chord death metal and interrupt it with random artificial harmonics. It's stuff that I like to hear. It's the sound of percussive death metal and all of the things that you expect to get out of that, but without the utility of a message, and without the virility of, I have a statement to say, because they're so long into their career. I don't expect that to be there. But if you're new to the band, it's going to be fun. But if you're familiar, it's going to be more of the same, but with a very bright production. So That's about all I have to say about that, and that's why I didn't want to really give this record a review, because I end up saying the things that normal reviewers will say because they're focused on the superficialities of most music, but that tells me there's very little more than the superficialities of music to be discussed here. So that's how I feel about the record. Like I said, I do like it. It's probably not something I'm going to reach for. If I'm going to reach for a Malignancy record, it's probably going to be the Roger Beaujard stuff, so that I can rep the Tish. Check out like Motivated by Hunger, um, that kind of stuff. This is so modern and so naked that there's no longer any mystery and nothing to unravel. So thanks for listening.